presentation for today is creating web pages in Koha, and we have with us today Jessie, Zairo, Kelly McElligott, McElligott, sorry, also known as our Dunsey Doodles Queen, and Lucas Scott from ByWater. So take it away.
Hi, good morning. They don't necessarily two mornings.
You got to try again.
Yeah. Okay, ready? Good morning.
Good morning.
It's 8:30 on day 2. So we're here today to talk about how we can create web pages in Koha now much easier than before. This is fantastic.
You can
Oh, we decided.
click on
Tap on the screen. There we go.
You're all there. I guess I just want to find out if anyone has created any web pages yet. Andrew, you have?
I made a page.
Did you? Good. Maybe we'll come up. Oh, Sarah, you've made a page?
I've seen them, but I haven't kept them. They say hello world. I'll be talking about it tomorrow.
Oh, awesome. All right. Well, with the introduction of pages in Koha, or actually a couple of versions ago, the tools, the new section in tools has really exploded, right? So we now Dunsey Doodles, we're done for the day. Just dropping the bomb there, right there, and everyone can do a hello world like they're in it. The big benefits of being able to create web pages, and is Rhonda here from Round Rock yet? No.
She's here.
She was okay. Well, we hope Rhonda's okay, but when they were moving to Koha, they created a red book which had all these instructions on how to use Koha. So for circulation staff, for technical services, and with the introduction of the easy way to make pages now, you can put all of that information on the staff client. So your staff have a quick and easy way to jump in and say, okay, how do we, change the status of something lost? What are the policies for refunding fees for returned items? And you can make this all at a quick click. And that's what we're going to show. And it can be private, it can be clickable. So we're going to show you a couple different examples, and it also mimics. So on the far left, you can see this staff resources is on the staff client. And so it's mimicking the staff interface, and we've just created a page there. And then we look at this for the OPAC to meet our staff. So when you are doing this, it's kind of really, really unique that you create, in essence, and we'll talk about the WYSIWYG and the text editor when we go into that page, which is similar to when, if anyone's used, the news section in the past. However, I think the most important part is when you created this, even as simple as Hello World, just playing around, you can initiate that visibility. You're going to get a URL in that table within the pages module. That page you can then link out. So you're going to get an entire URL, and then you can put that somewhere, whether you put that on your OPAC, you put that on your staff interface, or you share it internally, and it's not something that's actually clickable anywhere but throughout your your little core of people. So when you go ahead, and this is actually really tricky.
Shouldn't have given the answer, but. It would have been more fun if I asked you where to lose, it took me a minute, let me tell you. So if you didn't know, the options, for those using the OPAC, and I know a lot of people are now moved on, but for those using the OPAC. There are links that you can create, like course reserve, that's automatically, if you turn on course reserve, it's gonna show on your main page of your OPAC. If you turn on the authority search, it's gonna show up. The advanced search is gonna show up. If you wanna add more links there, that is under HTML customizations. So if you go to tools, HTML customizations, there's OPAC more searches. Also under HTML customizations, there's like OPAC map right, OPAC map class, not really a thing, OPAC bottom, OPAC credits, OPAC header, so you can add it there. Now, you could use OPAC map right and add that link or the bottom, so we've just chosen in this example, you can put it on the top and know that you have all those other areas in the OPAC, which you really can't see from this page, but you can visualize, right? Permissions, we know that this is really important to make sure that we can allow specific staff members to use permission to use pages within the staff interface. So the permissions are under tools, edit additional contents. Permissions are needed, and then if they can find that link, if you've shared it, whether it's on the OPAC or the staff interface, or if they have access to that tools area in pages, they could click that link and get that. So there's no permission to find those links. Yes, oh yes.
So also just related to permissions, you can use this actually as a way to circumnavigate. Maybe permissions, maybe you have a volunteer who you don't want to give full access to the reporting module. You can take a report and spell out the contents of it onto one of these pages, which I'm going to show you a little bit how to do. But first, I'll talk about some of the things you can add to a page to make it cool and do different things for you. Some of these things you can do just right out of the box because they exist in Koha, like Font Awesome. You can go search for Font Awesome for icons, copy the code from that website, and use any of those cool icons anywhere on your pages. You can use jQuery by just adding it to your internet user JS or your OPAC user JS if it's an OPAC page. Some things that are in Koha can be used, but they're not available to us by default on a given OPAC or staff page, like data tables or flat picker, which you would have to load from a CDN.
What's a CDN?
It's a content distribution network.
It's not a Canadian?
Yeah, no, like that.
It's basically an external source where you're pulling the scripts in, which I'll show a little bit more of here. So this is how you can add Font Awesome. You can get that little bit of markup from the Font Awesome website and put all kinds of icons on your page. That's a simple one. Like I said, you can use jQuery. The best way to do this, I say, is to add it to the internet user JS. Because we probably want to limit where we put JS in Koha. One thing I do is in the HTML of the page, I will always wrap my page in some element with a unique name. And then when I do my jQuery, I write a little thing like that. Let's see if this works. To make sure that my jQuery is only doing things on the page where I want it to be doing things. And then I'm just gonna talk a little bit about these kind of cool ways you can pull data into a page. We can use Koha's REST API, which is pretty robust these days. Over on this side, you can see the list of all these things that start with get, which is just a way of listing these different things. Cities, patrons, bibs, orders, all kinds of stuff like that. And I typically do so by using a jQuery method called Ajax. I take the Koha REST API endpoint in this example, we're just using GRM agreements to pull in that data. I'm not doing anything here, but console logging that data. If you want to see what all you can get from the REST API and put into a page, you can go here to whatever your staff client URL is, API v1.html. It'll show you all this stuff. And much more. I couldn't even fit all of the things onto this slide.
We have a QR code. We learned something yesterday. We have a QR code at the end of our slide. Thanks, Christopher. Bring it. Yes.
Way to pivot.
You can also get data from a report if the REST API doesn't provide you with the data that you want. And it's a little example that we'll show at the end. Just taking a simple report with a runtime parameter. And here using a similar but different jQuery method called getJSON. In these examples, they're pretty interchangeable. And let's see. One thing I struggled with recently here is knowing that when I pass my SQL parameters into my jQuery, you must do it sort of in the order that your SQL parameters appear, your runtime parameters appear in the report. And again, this is just console logging each line of your report. And later we'll do a little bit more dynamic stuff.
Luca, does that's a public report. Does it have to be a public report if it's on the staff side?
No, it does not. It only has to be a public report if you were going to do something like this on the OPAC, in which case I would be very careful with the kind of reports you're writing.
Yeah.
The little bit more dynamic of an example that expands on the API one. In the pages customization, I've set up a small table example here. I've built the table headers. And what I'm going to do here is just pull in, again, from ERM agreements, these things, the name, description, status, and vendor ID. You see I have a empty table right here. So I have the structure set up in HTML, and then with jQuery, we're just, for each response, we're going to build one table row with the various data in there. But if you were building a report for your volunteers or something like that, this would be the way to do it. So also in Koha, we have a thing called data tables, which are just a neat tool that allows us to sort our tables dynamically, search and filter on our tables, and export them in different formats. So we can do this on a page too with the previous example. Like I said, some of the things available in Koha aren't available by default in pages. So I'm using another jQuery method, get script, to call some data tables script from a CDN, and just taking the table from the last example and making it a data table. We'll show that off in a second. Other fun stuff, so there's all kinds of like JavaScript libraries out there in the world to do different things for dates or make video games or all kinds of stuff, so you can import those. By either calling the script in your page's HTML block like this. Or using jQuery's get script like I did to call it sort of on demand when you need it. Same thing with CSS, you can import various CSS files from elsewhere and use them on your pages. Try this.
All right. Perfect. Yay. Are we showing the right ones here? No, yeah.
Get methods work, or can you not, probably be insane to use put methods, but can you do any of that?
To use what method?
Can you only get API methods work?
I just showed the get ones there, but there are others that they do work, posts or deletes and stuff like that.
In the koha web. Like website building module.
Yeah.
So,
Although-
how do you manage the permissions for that? Like, because you don't have to create an API page, just comes. Because you're already in the staff, that, staff client.
How do you manage the?
Normally you create a page in and you add an API key, but you don't have to do that if you're creating a page in the spec.
To add a patron?
Well, if you would have the same permissions, whatever user was signed in, that's the permission that would apply.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever users do.
Yeah.
Adding.
Yeah, so depending on the user, if you try to do put or post or anything like that, they may not have access, they don't have that permission. Sorry.
No, thank you.
So
So the user accessing the page after you created it.
yes, yeah.
So you could conceivably use this to create like forms that koha doesn't have. Like you have a regular repeatable workflow. You could conceivably use this for
Conceive-
your own forms.
Conceivably, yeah, yeah. I did.
Well, we have created, don't we have a? We have a Google form, okay.
Right.
Like I'm trying to think of an example. It doesn't sound insane while I'm sitting here, but I'll admit it.
Ben, we're gonna hand you the mic in a sec, hold on.
So my question was, just to repeat for anybody listening, was do put and post methods work? And then Nick said, they do, and it would be the person who's logged in, whose permission would apply. I honestly can't think of an example.
So if you could create a patron in Koha the way you normally create a patron, you could also make a post request and create a patron that way. You would need the permission to do so. You need to be logged in. Have the permission to do so.
You're stuck. Okay, so now we're gonna show you the juicy stuff, right? We showed you all these examples. Now we're gonna come in and show you where everything lives. So how many people like that the cataloging tools moved into the cataloging module?
Confused. Every time.
Every time. So the actual model. Okay, so you'll notice that there's a new link under the additional tools that takes us right into pages. So this is our little playground here that we've set up, just a bunch of different pages in here. Where you can see we have some that. Oh, okay. We can go in there and see just all the different examples, what's displayed just on the staff interface, what's displayed on the OPAC, or if anything's set to all. We can see that. You can preview the content once you've created it. So before it goes out, you can take a look at it. And then Lucas created a page of examples here. There is a system preference that allows you to essentially turn on the WYSIWYG or the text editor. So dependent on your preference, You can use the text editor if you just want to write your HTML code, or if you need a WYSIWYG. Yep. To quickly create links or change your fonts or sizes or bullets, you can easily add that in. I'm gonna make this a little bigger. Is that easier to see?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So this is just a great way that, again, whatever your examples are, if you're bringing in, you know, staff pages to make, or some of the more complex ones that Lucas has shown, this is just a great way to bring these in. So I'll let Lucas talk about some of these print notice examples.
You wanna go, let's,
You should go.
yeah, I'll go.
I'll drive for you, Lucas.
Want me to go to the pages of pages?
So one thing you can do is create a directory of pages. If you put a bunch of pages, you can link them out to other pages.
Okay, so. Which is this example, like a data table, or no, bringing in a report?
Yes. So here we're bringing in a report with runtime parameters, like I had explained.
So we're gonna just, in essence, run a report right on here and then see them on the page. So you could print them. Print. Oh, you did, okay.
Ooh.
So this is just the example report I showed earlier, which is showing you, based on the parameters, things in your message queue that are ODO, called ODO3, from today.
How exciting is that to just be able to print those?
It's really exciting because we're ready for development.
Yay! Talk about what you did here about edit notice.
Oh yeah, this is just a little, so also. For these to edit, if we were gonna print that, maybe change the markup, change your article number, and print the things.
You could edit the notice before you print it? What the heck?
So many people ask about this. Isn't it exciting?
They're not excited. It's a little print icon because it's a print. If it was an SMS, what would the icon be? A little phone, or are they all little prints?
I forgot what I added, but
It was really cool at the time.
those are examples of awesome icons in
Okay.
use.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Does the edit that you made in that notice appear in the page?
No, so that's just a little HTML attribute called content editable, which allows you to just edit on the fly, so that that would be like edit, print, change nothing in your actual system.
Good question, though.
So this is the ERM example I had, which just pulls some data from an API and turns it into a data table, which we can sort. It all go away.
And there's a search. There was a search at the top.
Right, there's a search and a filter, like data tables you see everywhere in Koha. FAQ example. You can imagine what that would be like. I think maybe you guys put this together,
Yeah,
a staff page.
because it was a great picture.
Here.
Well, actually, can you go, see, I didn't, oh. Can you go back to meet our stuff? I didn't add it to the top area where I talked about the OPAC more searches. I added it to, if you go back to that home button of the OPAC, I added it to the OPAC nav, right or left.
To here. Okay.
Yeah.
This is like that.
I just added the link here instead. Just a couple different ways to do it. You can see my basic ones, and then Lucas is really like crazy good ones.
And these pages will really exist nowhere in Koha until you add these links somewhere for users to navigate to.
Bless you.
Let's see if we get back here. Another thing you might want to do is a Google Forms is just in an iframe, so a nice way to add forms for your staff to fill out, or OPAC pages as well.
That's a good idea. A lot of times people will ask about surveys for their patrons, so that's an easy way. You can just embed that or have it pop out.
Or surveys for your staff.
Yeah.
Oh, I created this webpage for staff resources. I linked it from the main page of the staff interface and a couple of reference pages, the PDFs from koha-US. So thank you for those reference sheets, but just giving you an idea of how you can incorporate other resources into the staff interface as quick links for staff. If they never know where to find that information, now you can easily put it somewhere and they can access it really easily.
And this is just a fun example of a jQuery or a JavaScript library. If your staff isn't wasting enough time.
We have a question. Where's Laura has a question back to you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
hi, Laura from Middlesex. So we're in a group of academics, a consortium, and having embedded documentation sounds really like a good idea, particularly if it was contextual on the page. However, each of us have our own documentation and rules and whatever. So is there a way in creating pages to link it to a particular institution's login, or is it a one size fits all in terms of global pages?
Let's see, you're able when you're creating pages to give it a branch parameter and
Okay.
limit it to a specific branch.
Any select multiple branches in there?
No.
Can we duplicate an existing, or just copy and paste and create? I mean, that's annoying.
There's also no duplicate
Right.
feature at this time, but you could, yes, just
We'll find
copy
that.
the.
What?
I know. That's a good bug to file.
I know, that's what I always immediately think.
A library, and we have branches and libraries, so that would be, because we're dual campus, so we might have some documentation we might want to put just in a branch, but we have others that might for our entire institution, so. And I'm just wondering.
This is a good example of something when we file it, we could put it in discussion because we have good examples of it should be connected to library groups for this case exactly where you are a community college and have multiple campuses.
Right.
Or your Pines and Plains in a large consortium and you have 3 branches. 4.
We have an online question. If you create, let's see, your 70 is asking if you create a survey, where does that data end up?
Well, in the example I had, there's a Google form, so that'll end up in your Google.
In the Google.
Or if you use SurveyMonkey or,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
In essence, the data is not stored in Koha. Those survey responses are not going into Koha. They're just going back to the source that created the form.
I think that's it. I think that's a nice example.
Be created.
Yeah, we have a couple more on like our OPAC that we've created. This is an example. This is another OPAC that Lucas designed. Where we're highlighting like a variation of cover flow on the front. But we did create a couple pages, so if you want to talk about your electronic collection and what access you have, this is a great way to just, again, a list of lists or a link out to take your users to different databases or locations. Distance learning, you know, if you want to link out to off-campus resources or quick links, or even embed a video. These are all things that you can do right within the creation of pages. And then we have one more example. If you're part of any statewide programs like Ask a Librarian, or if you have a chat widget. Again, just easy ways to embed these all on the page. Of course, you could have pop-outs also, but this is just showing you this is a simple iframe that's just embed on the page that can take them to the chat. I think I had one more. Oh, Friends of the Library? Here's one more. And this just has, again, you can embed images, text. You could even put a form in here if they wanted to fill out another Google form.
Yeah,
assignment.
volunteer form, yeah. It's not even, I think it's because it's so big on the screen.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
No, sorry. All of Lucas's examples from the jQuery are on that QR code. As well as some setup instructions on how to create pages, what permissions you need. They're all available on that resource.
And I think as we talk about this new feature in Koha, it just came out, and for us 2211 and just having that access, the more you play around and use it, even if you're doing something internally and just testing it out, it's really important to start thinking about how other ways that it can be improved, such as like duplicate or using it in library groups. Again, we're all about community and talking about how Koha is going to grow. That's how it's going to grow, as we get together and start brainstorming and thinking about, this is great, but how can it be better? How can it work for my library? We've given you a various number of examples, but I'm sure what you have going on in your head is just as fantastic. So please share them with us, or share them maybe if anyone's in our ByWater Slack channel. I think everyone would love to see what you're doing with those pages. Do we have any questions?
I probably missed it while I was trying to mess around with there. How do you add them so that people can click on them? I missed that part. On the staff client.
Yeah. We're in Firefox.
Yeah.
When you're here and you've created it, this is going to give me the link. So if I hover here, it's going to give me that link to paste somewhere else.
Where do I paste it? So it shows
Okay, so here I created it, like I put one in the news section. You see that staff resources, and that would be under staff news. If you wanted to put it on the OPAC, depending on where you want to put it on the top, it's all coming from your HTML customizations in tools. Here, under depending, news would be if you wanted to put it in your news section or in your HTML customizations, like your OPAC more searches or somewhere on the OPAC or somewhere on the, if you're talking more about the staff interface, right? So
is news our only option? Without some fancy
If there
JavaScript.
are, if there are other places that you would want to add your links in the staff client, because there's not as many options as there are in the OPAC.
I forget what that's called.
Right, there, I forgot what it's called too, but there's the top menu.
You
Does
could,
anyone remember that name? It's like staff interface nav or something. Oh, staff nav. Internet nav.
internet apps, that sounds right. But
Guess
if
that-
you wanted it anywhere else, you could do a simple one line of JavaScript to insert it in your internet user JS. Also, I know there's a bug somewhere out there that's adding a bunch of new HTML customizations to various places in the stack line.
Lucas, what if somebody wanted to add a report to the reports page, like a quick link to a report? How would they do that on the reports page?
Right now, you would do that by writing one line of JavaScript.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is a. My phone's better than.
There is on the homepage of the reports, there is a big editable HTML area there, and I don't. Again, I can't, just like everybody else, I can't name that system preference, but there's a system preference that allows you to add HTML to the homepage of the reports function.
And then there's a system preference to add something to the bottom of the main page of the SAP interface.
Right.
Oh, somebody pulled up, it's intranet reports home HTML. There's one for the circulation page. I think there's one for the acquisitions page. There's one for the main page. There's a bunch of them. And I think if you just look up this, if you use the system preference search bar, I think if you just look up HTML, it gives you a whole bunch of places to add HTML to the staff interface.
And these are the ones that are going into HTML customizations.
And this is George, we should probably have said this yesterday, but if we give you the microphone, it probably wouldn't hurt, especially when people online, if you said who you were, where you're from, so.
So this is the internet circulation homepage, so it would be on the circulation module, the report, main page. There's
Wow.
intranet nav, so that's the type.
Internet nav.
Oh, and we've added the column of graphs there. Any other questions?
It's really easy when you're unmuting that mic, that's when you turn it off, so.
This is great. You need to buy that kind of I mean, it's considerably simpler for the OPAC, and I may have 5 minutes, 30 seconds to the podium.
Yeah.
Also, I'd like to, and all that code that Lucas showed at the beginning looks really scary. I know most of my presentation tomorrow is going to be feature lots of really scary code, but it's not as scary as it looks.
Come on. Here we go.
If he reads a poem.
Sorry, the
Track, it's weird.
the thing at the top is confusing. At home and at work, I have a monitor that's got that big. Oh, okay, this is the main page. And I added. Well, of course, there's advanced search, but also I added one called how to, where I give away all my secrets. So you have the main block here. I think that's OPAC nav, which is constant. I'm not sure if you can remove it. But it doesn't matter to me. You see, you have a blank slate to do pretty much whatever you want to put up there. Including all my secrets.
Nice.
Good job.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Where is there? So we have another online question. Kendall's asking, is there a way to limit when the link shows up on the staff client for I think like that's consortium users?
The only thing I could think of off the top of my head would be just via JavaScript to check what the branch code is and limit it that way.
Or again, create it for each branch, like a page for each branch that can see it, right?
But yeah, okay, but if it was the link, not the page that you were trying to limit.
Oh, I see, I said.
We'll file a bug before we sit down. I think we'll sit down.
You can.
Come on up,
do,
Everybody wants to hear.
You could do a branch limited news item. And then just have that with the links that you need for each branch.
Right, or you could do the same thing with the HTML customization.
Yeah.
Lots of options, Ben.
Lots of options.
Ben here.
This is Ben from Fargo. I did think of an example for the quotes. I've got volunteers who need to be able to place items in Lost. I don't really want to train them how to edit records because I don't want to go down that. Could I conceivably create a form that just allows them to put in barcodes and then click a button and then use the pull request to make all of those items Lost?
That's on stage.
This is one of those things where it's like, yeah, you could, but you make me nervous when you start saying these things. So yeah, I mean, it can be done. Anything that you can use the API for, if they have the permissions, you can put a link right there and do it. I mean, and just say, you can do that from reports. You can build links from reports. Just have you can report on and click it, you could mark something Lost that way.
What would be, I mean, saying, given that I'm placing things Lost at potential charge, and I get that, but would there be another reason I wouldn't want to do something like that? No.
I'm not saying you wouldn't want to do, I'm just saying, like, we start thinking each other, we're like, oh, what's gonna happen if we say this is a good idea? What are people gonna do next? I think that's.
Yeah, not necessarily.
No,
This
this sounds like a very, that does sound like a very reasonable, straightforward way to do it, and that's kind of the idea, but where. I'm not part of this presentation. But I'm like the developer mindset that I have is that sometimes you start to do these things, you build out these custom things. And then we lose that as something that Koha needs. And it's kind of like you're solving a problem and you're doing it with a workaround. And great, do that. But maybe also file a bug in the community just to say like, hey, we find this process difficult, we need to make it simpler, here's how I did it. And then we can kind of bring that into an official Koha feature, because just it's just working on the development side. Sometimes I worry about too much customization that doesn't get back to us, so that it doesn't necessarily get shared as widely as it should, because we'd like to see these things be fixed for everybody. Sorry.
Two things. This is Christopher. So you touched on the thing about if they have the permissions thing a couple times, and my thought on that is if they have the permissions, wouldn't they just be able to get to the tool in the first place? So it kind of defeats the purpose if they have access to that tool to get that permission.
right? The idea of letting, it's really the idea of letting volunteers, like showing volunteers the item edit screen
Yeah.
is opening up a whole can of worms that they don't want, right? They just want to be able to mark like this patron didn't return an item from my site. They're volunteers that deliver to sites, and that's all they want to do. And so I get what you're saying, but I also, they will be overwhelmed by that process.
Then I have an online question. Kendall's asking, where can we look to find the branch code with JavaScript on the staff side?
If we use our browser's dev tools, every page in Koha has a class called logged branch code, and that should have the text with your branch in it. With both your branch name, logged in branch name, we also have a hidden element called logged in branch code that shows just the code.
Are there other comparable bits of information that are similarly visible, like a borrower category or something?
Who said that?
Andrew asked if there were more pieces of information like a borrower category hidden in the HTML, which it sounds like he knows that there is, and we don't seem to know where it is off the top of our head.
Let's just get the gang back together. Andrew,
Do you want to come on?
I don't know where it is.
But
It's in there though.
By the end of this presentation, we just want to have everybody on this side of the mic.
I don't know off the top of my head.
So what you're saying is if Ben's volunteers were logged in as a volunteer, they would have access to this page to do this thing, but as a other staff member, a staff category might not. Gotcha.
There is a super librarian class that will show if you are a super librarian.
That doesn't help.
But procedurally, this is Christopher, you could use the JSON and the API, you can use the API to get any of that information if you have something on the page that you can reference, like a borrower number, some borrower, borrower number or card number or something of that nature. You could probably pull up other things that you need.
Yeah, with a borrower number, you could query the API for the category code, other things about the borrower.
So this is George, and I'm not remembering if there's any place on there with a borrower number hidden, but there is the login username, which you can use to go and get it. Which you can use to do an API call and get the borrower number in category.
Any other questions?
No, but Kendall said thanks.
I said things.
Okay.
okay, oh, thanks. Please share examples if you create pages so we can share them with the community.
Dunsy doodles.